Hello guys, welcome to this video. Hope you have understood all the aspects that you are required to review under an agreement, intercompany agreement, or when you prepare that intercompany agreement, you must consider the aspects which we discussed in the earlier video. If you have just come to hear video without going through that videos, I would request first to complete step by step all the videos, and then after you start with the functional analysis process. Now guys, under this video we'll be understanding that what aspects, other aspects apart from intercompany agreement we should go ahead and we should identify, because intercompany agreement is just a document, right? But you need to understand that on basis of document transfer pricing cannot happen. You need to also understand the actual conduct of the parties, and hence it is very important that you undertake the you understand the actual conduct. Now how do you do that? For that we have a procedure which we call generally in transfer pricing terminology as functional interviews. These are interviews which you undertake with the client or HOD department of the client, head of the departments of the client company, and then you understand the entire supply chain process. I'll just share my screen, and wherein I'm going to show you that what type of questions that you should ask to the client when you are undertaking this functional interview. Also, I want to mention one thing, that whenever you do the functional interview, you need to have a proper schedule as also proper questionnaire when you go for a functional interview. I'll just share my screen and I'll show you the aspects that you need to cover under a normal functional interview. So guys, when you go for an functional interview, or when you are understanding the actual conduct of the parties to the transaction, right, you should have an idea of the supply chain model of the business in your mind, and accordingly undertake the functional interviews with your client's team or each of the head of the department of the client. I will expand this to explain what type of questions that you can include in the functional interview. So there could be questions pertaining to the supply chain of business. Then there could be questions pertaining to the role being played by each of the party in the entire supply chain. We are going to practically also understand that how you should undertake the functional interview, what type of questions you should frame, and that's where you will understand that how practically we undertake the functional interview. Then how working capital and capex are being managed, any additional support being provided by the employees of the other party other than for which the transaction has happened. So guys, at times in manufacturing unit or probably in IT company also, you must have heard that employees do travel from overseas to the Indian entity, or probably from India they travel overseas to provide some support services to their sister concerns. So this is where you need to understand that whether any extra services are also being provided apart from the normal routine transaction which is going on between the parties. Then you should also ask questions on the marketing aspects, that who is doing marketing, from where the marketing material is coming to the how the marketing is being done, which entity plays what role in the marketing. So such type of questions also you should ask to your clients. How is the remuneration being determined between the parties? So what is the compensation structure? How they have arrived at a remuneration. If it's a product or it's a sale of product or purchase of product, then how the costing is being done. What are the components which they do generally add when they get the costing part. Now see, again, if it's a tangible property, then how the costing is derived, right? Same way. So at times it may happen that the heads or the promoters or the owners who are responsible for answering this type of questions don't give you answers comfortably, or probably they are not explained. So at times it may also happen they may not be able to explain well due to their certain constraints. But you should devise the questions smartly so that that guy answers all the questions. Also you can ask for documentation information also, document or information which supports their answer, in case if you want to go ahead and verify more on the actual conduct, right? Then there could be questions related to the product quality aspects, such as what in case of failure, or what in case of customer rejection, what happens, who handles the customer rejections, or sales support, is there any sales support type of activity, what role is being played by which of the entity. All right, so this type of functional questions you are required to include in your functional questionnaire. And the ninth and the last and most important is questions related to risk, which head assumes what risk. So there would be if there's a head of department or if the entire supply chain is being handled, at every point there would be some market risk, some business risk, some currency fluctuation risk, or any other idle capacity risk, product quality failure risk, IP infringement risk. We are already going to study that type of risk in the coming videos. But yeah, you need to also devise questions revolving around that particular risk. I hope this entire thing clarifies. We'll just move ahead, and apart from this functional analysis also, I'll move ahead, and also you should ask, that is 4B, that you need to understand which entity undertakes strategic decisions and corporate services admin related decisions. You need to understand, apart from the above functional analysis what we understood, you also are required to understand these two parts. Now, what are strategic and what are corporate services functions? Now let me just explain that. Now, strategic decision making, or technically we say strategic management functions, are the functions such as corporate strategy, budgeting, policy formulation, etc., which involves decision making on business strategy, selecting lines of business, choosing organization structure, operating procedures, analyzing and undertaking acquisitions and disinvestments, responding to the competitors and to the market forces. Now, guys, when there will be two parties who have commercial or financial relationship, there will be one party who will be taking the strategic decision. So it generally happens in a case of when there's a holding company and its subsidiary, right? So you may understand the main management sits outside India, and that management only would be taking the decisions, like on a strategic level, that whether private limited company should form in India or LLP. So that's also one type of strategic decision. Then what is the budget which needs to be allocated to the Indian entity? For example, I'm just giving you certain examples, like what policies should be implemented in the Indian entity. Such type of things we call as such type of functions or activities we call as strategic decision making. I hope that clarifies. Now we go to other part, which is corporate service functions. So these are day-to-day functions, like appointment of HR, or appointment of people in operations team, admin team, then doing accounting jobs, maintaining of IT systems. So this type of functions are day-to-day management functions which are separate from strategic level. So this would be always undertaken by if it's an Indian subsidiary who is rendering services, captive services to the foreign company. Then this type of functions will be done by the Indian entity only. The management sitting in India would be doing such things, right? So these are two types of functions also that you should include in your functional questionnaire. Why I have separated this is because these two are the most basic functions which will be there in every transaction or every arrangement of this type of functions will be there in every arrangement. So you have to include that also. Apart from that, once when you do the functional analysis, also you need to understand the assets which are being employed by the parties. Like you need to justify that if the party is telling that it's a full-fledged manufacturing entity, then the party has to then it should be visible that the party has requisite amount of machinery, plant, space to render that particular to produce that products, and to manufacture products and give it to the other party. So you need to understand that what assets are being employed by the parties also. Let me also clarify, intangibles as also human resources also asset, right? It may happen in IT service companies that for them computers and all things are assets, but as an intangible property they do have human resource. So at times in practical cases the transfer pricing officer may also ask the quality of human resource which is being employed by the Indian entity. Now this may happen in scenarios where the people may have a suspicion that whether the Indian entity is a captive service provider. Captive service provider is basically the entity which acts as per the instruction of the other entity. Now, or they are they are involved in some developing some high-end intangibles. In software development industry, it may happen that the Indian entity actually works on the software, while the branding is being done by the US entity or UK entity or whatever the entity, the overseas entity. So it may also happen. So transfer pricing officers may also go to that level to understand that what type of personnel is being employed by the Indian entity, because there's a concept also. Let me just tell you in transfer pricing that value creation is a concept where your transfer price should align with the value creation, right? It's a famous BEPS action plan 8 concept where value creation has been dealt with. Value creation is nothing but wherever the value of that particular thing lies, it should be, the taxes should be on that part. not on the in case. So if I say that I have skilled employees in my entity, Indian entity, while while Indian entity is being remunerated at a very low level, but they have skilled personnel, and where the most of under that transaction, the remuneration most of part is being taken by the overseas entity, where overseas entity has only 5 employees while Indian entity has 100 employees, then the value is getting created in India. Indian entity is creating the value for that product, right? It's not the overseas entity which is creating a value, right? It is just for a sale. So transfer pricing officers will also look onto that aspects. So for us as a transfer pricing consultants, it is very important to understand what type of human resources are been employed in such cases. Yes. All right. So I hope this entirely clarifies that how the functional analysis has to be undertaken. We'll also see the practical, practical application of all the entire concepts in the subsequent parts. I hope you are enjoying this entire learning process. Just relax yourself. If you are not, if you have still doubts, just go through the videos again, understand the thing, and then move ahead. Hope you are enjoying this. Take it easy, relax. I'll meet you in the next part.